So, hello everyone, Mono here, review, slide, episode 23, the final episode, right? The actual final episode, because then 425 is a kind of random filler, anime only, or other side story, doesn't really matter, yeah. So it's the final episode, and it clearly had a recap part for like 5 minutes, and so on, right? And I will talk a little bit generally, in the end, about the whole anime, but I will probably do another video, where I go over, I feel, the whole slime anime, right? Because it's been a decent anime, and also it's disappointing, so I'll talk about that more later and so on. But generally, this episode first then, I think it was a pretty good episode. I was not a very big fan of Rimaru, like he's like force melding the spirits, because I've joked slightly about that a few weeks ago, when I said that it might be a little weird if Rimaru just enters and be like, oh you, bam, in my kid, yeah. That would be a little weird maybe, if he forces the kids into him, right? But he kind of did that, yeah. Like he kind of took like several small spirits, like one big, and showed them in, right? I felt like, is he kind of like violating the spirits now? Like, it felt like he enslaved them, right? So not a super big fan of that. Where the Can spirit, the light guy, he was like, I wanna be with you, boy, and like that was more like how I hoped each spirit would be. Sure, it'd be like one character each more per kid, right? But that would have felt a little more like, I'll say, portray Rimaru. The 3 children that got like this random melding thing, to me, it felt a little weird. I would say they felt a little uncharacteristic from Rimaru, because it felt like he kind of forced them to be their slaves, right? In a way. But also, though, and this is a big quality coming to here, right? Of course, the time travel shenanigans with Shizu and Chloe. Chloe seems to be clearly be her master from the past, but the power is from the future. Yada yada, get the mask so on, right? Coming to that a little bit here. But one thing I was away with the spirits things, which I think is almost not more important, but for the episode itself, I think it's more important. And that is that Cam gets this light spirit thing. Personality is way stronger. Ramirez hates him because they're like, he's dark, he's light, whatever, so on. And that is more important, right? And then Chloe, of course, gets the whole future Uber power up. The hero that beat Veldora seems to be extremely well implied that one beat Veldora. People say spoilers already, it's maybe the manga, or which no didn't show it that clearly. But here in the anime, it looks like very much like she's the one that beats Veldora, right? And so on. But let me ignore that for now. Her story, it's not going to very soon here, but that part. The other 3 children feels really left out, in my opinion, right? Again, right, I think it was a little weird how I used force spirit into them, and then they also just getting like, they're not getting like, personality spirits, they're just getting like, Rimaru is enslaving a million small fireflies to make one big firefly, but that firefly didn't get a personality. It's inside of her with powers now, right? So those 3 other children, they feel like they're completely pointless, in my opinion. In like the general scope, they seems to be completely let out, right? So Ken gets the light spirit, and he's like, you can be a hero now. Okay, so he's gonna be more stronger and important now. And then of course Chloe is absurdly more important, and she is in love with Rimaru and all the other, and looks exactly like Shishu and like her master, which is very likely it's her, right? Very the master and so on. But whatever. That to me, as a narration standpoint, just from the episode itself, ignoring the general scope, right, feels a little weird, right? Because I would say it. I'm not talking about it more about the video, but let's just get it here. I don't think this arc has been that good. I think that the anime had its pinnacle at the Orc Lord fight. I do love Milliam, okay? So this episode with Demon Lord Milliam, also very good, right? But after her episode, then I think the anime just kind of went downhill a little bit. Not that it's bad, but it's like it went from like a 9 out of 10, 9.5 anime to like an 8.5 anime, I would say. I think it's fair to say, yeah, 9.5, 95%, and it's like 80%. It's a pretty bad, it's a pretty big down, I would say, still a very good anime, but like, I think that after Medium, you all had the whole Carbios arc. People said on the worst arc in the manga and so on, and I agree, that was the weakest arc. The whole build up for and so on, pretty boring, right? And then you got into Milium and Rimaru basically like one punch. It's not that good. And after that, this whole kid arc and the ending here, again, right? Yes, it's very, very important that she gets the mask, coming to that soon later here, but that she is like, it feels like the other children doesn't have to be there, right? It feels like she could be the only kid. Basically, he could come there, this could be like, oh, I have this kid, that her name is Chloe, and she was Shisu's like adoptive daughter / student thing, and now she's all alone. Maybe you could raise her. Like that could have been enough instead. And the other 4, in my opinion at least, doesn't seem to do anything for the storyline. Like, right? And also 3 of them gets like this nonsense power. They don't get like real spirits. I think that's very, very clear, even in that sense. If you look at it from like a game perspective, because I really love how they turn into some weird 8-bit, maybe 16-bit Super Nintendo Golden Sun music there, like getting spirits, just turn on that, classic JRPG music there. That was great, right? But it also felt like really weird, because in those games, for example, like Golden Sun, you can have 7 spirits per character, up to 4. Or I don't know, Breath of Fire 2 than that, you get spirits, you combine them and get different elements and so on. But in all of those games, right, each character gets the equal amount of spirits, right? There's nothing like, well, here we have a party of 5 main heroes, 2 of them get spirits, and the other 2 gets like some random shit over there. Yeah, like that's how it felt to me. I think that's a major mistake in my opinion, and I really stand by that. I think the episode was pretty poorly in that sense, because it really feels like, what is the purpose of the other 3 kids? They have no purpose, instead of giving a little like, a smoke screen that she is the hero. Like, yeah, the only thing that the other children are there to motivate it less that she's the hero, even though it incredibly pointed her to being the hero, and so on, all that stuff, right? And the other kids are, again, just like part of the story. So if she was the only student, right, and he like adopted her and trained her and so on, then it would be even more like, of course she's gonna be a hero, or she's a reborn to sue, whatever. Then it would be even more obvious, right? And if it's only like that's the purpose they have, to be like feeling out the times a little bit. But the problem then is the whole arc to me was short arcs, but it felt, I think it was pretty weak. I think it was much weaker than the whole world building and getting races and so on. Again then, the other children, they feel like they are, I don't say pointless, but they feel like they probably doesn't really need to be right. So they're spending a lot of time with jokes, so with other kids, and then it ends with them not even getting like full spirit. I think for me, it's a big mistake. If they had given each children like a similar spirit, and she's in that weird future thing, fine, and that's pointing to the world, blah blah blah, yeah. But if they all got powers like Ken did with the light thing, if they each had one of those things each, or at least when Rimaru was like, I will mold the wind and water together for you, boy, and they'll create some kind of Undine or Shivya, or they'll create some other classic spirit, right, from Final Fantasy or whatever, right, like Ifrit. If that thing was created there, that would be like, oh, interesting. Maybe this kid also has a really high potential. Sure, she is still Shizu, or Shizu's master with the time travel thing. But still, though, each of them has like an purpose now. And maybe the other one are gonna become the main evil or something, because he got the light spirit, so the dark spirit or whatever. Like, yeah, then it will feel less obvious that she is the main kid, right? But now, it really, really comes off as she is clearly the main kid. So what is the point having the other ones there? And someone's probably gonna say that, oh, but one of them is gonna die in 5 episodes from now, or it's gonna be a death scene with one of them, and yeah, it's a bit sad and so on, but I think that's still the point though, that even if there's gonna be some gruesome scene, one of them dies for Rimaru and that can be really important. It still feels like they're kinda not really main characters. If they die for his sake or so on, or small sake, it's even more like they're just there to be extras in the story, right? Like their life can be forfeited because they don't have the main story life. It even is more like that. So I think that was a major mistake, not having the children getting one spirit each. Actually, it's a real spirit and not like random hope building of fire and so on. Yeah, like that was really weird to me. And if anything, I think it was a mistake. It's not. That Rimaru can create new spirits. She's like, that's kind of freaky, don't do that. Does that away. I feel it's a lack there. Why isn't Rimaru like, oh, I'm gonna mold these 2 things? And Ramp's like, oh, no, don't do it. It's kind of like forbidden. It's like, come on. And then, he creates like a new spirit that's like, oh, hello. And then that spirit could be like pure evil, right? Or it could be a trickster spirit. And like, see what I mean? Like, he could have created something there as well that would be like, wow, this is a spirit that they just made, and it's breaking the the spirit law or whatever, right? But he's still giving it to a kid there, and then this kid could turn into be evil later on because that or something. Yeah, it feels like, or not, right? But like the purpose of having those more like personality spirit there for the older 3 as well gives different story, I say story potentials. But now it's like those three are clearly not gonna do anything. Maybe they are, but very, very unlikely. And if they do, you're still gonna wonder why they didn't get like an interspirit. Like it's gonna be weird. Like why are they getting like an infusing of something interesting more than just like, oh, here's a ball of fire. Yeah, like that's so weird to me. So very, very against that. I think it's generally because the anime is very, very much a JRPG, right? Japanese role-playing game, and in those games, again, you always get that each character gets, an important power-up each, right, in a sense. It feels weird that only 2 out of 5 will get that, and it feels like, well, I guess all 3 are expendable, non-actual characters then, you probably will die, and then you get the 3 other ones. That's how it feels like, compared to many other JRPG games, where you have like a part of 4 characters, and like one of them doesn't have this like true ability to use. You can almost think like, wait, why doesn't he have the crystal power of this thing? And then it's like 10 of, oh, he dies, and then you get his brother, and he has the power of, and then, oh, okay, yeah, now it makes sense. You see what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, so one has like the true fire rune, the true lightning rune, the true, so lightning is like the fire and wind, right? Yeah, lightning is like wind, right? Yeah, wind, lightning rune, the true water rune. But then the last guy doesn't have the true earth rune. He has like the, I don't know, like the magma rune or something. And he's like, that is really off, right? That thing, right? And then he dies, and then you get his brother, sister, and she has always carried in secret the true earth rune, and she can then join, and you have the 4 each element, whatever. That kind of feel to it. Like she gets Puppet Girl, she gets the space power, right? And it's like, but there's no space spirits. It feels like it's almost like a lesser true of a power level, right? So that to me makes the whole arc just weaker too, right? Like the finale is weaker. Anyway, for a long time now, let's talk about the whole time travel thing. Okay, so I think it's very, very obvious. It seems to be extremely obvious that Chloe is supposed to be the master of Tsuzura. So you get the mask from Rimaru, you get the mask thing, and Rimaru's like, that's a future spirit. It's like, what future spirit? It's her from the future. Or is it like Shizu in the reborn Shizu and that? And something weird, right? Like when Shizu died, it was pretty clear to me it's gonna be some kind of time travel already at that point. And I think it's been pretty clear since episode like 3 or 4 or so, whatever, 5, 6, time travel thing. It's been very, very much hinted to all the time, I think, for the beginning. And then also that when he died, he got here, right? When she died, what can she return to this world? And her master, her looks exactly the same, right? No, Chloe looks like them as well. She gets the mask, and she's a time travel spirit that has immense power. Veldora recognizes it probably as the woman that beat him, right? So it seems to be absurdly likely that it's time shenanigans and Chloe is the hero. That seems to be like a no-brainer to me. I would be very surprised if Chloe isn't the hero, right? That would be kind of weird now, because it's such presented. It reminds me of like Star Wars 7, right? Whatever, it's supposed to Star Wars 7. In the sense that people are saying, oh, but of course they're gonna be siblings or whatever, right? And saying, oh, but it's fresh take. But the thing is, it's a problem with fresh take. Star Wars 8, right? People, 8 had issues because it didn't like pay off on what 7 said, right? And some people were defending, oh, it's great because it's a refresh and so on. But the problem is that means that everything that 7 said was pointless. You could have skipped all of 7 then, if it's all our rules, right? And the same thing here, where it's like, everything is pointing to her being the master. So all those scenes like Veldora, oh, this lady, she's the one, yeah, all of that scenes, if they don't mean anything, it's completely pointless, right? So why would you have those scenes? So either it's very, very predictable now, because everything points to her being the master, or like a reborn student, or just assume Adam has to be the same person from the beginning, whatever, yeah. It's either pointing to that, but I think it's very, very, very likely she's the master of Shizu, right? The time travels back with her time travel space. So yeah, I think it's incredibly predictable. But let's go with that, say that's true, right? If it's not true, then all these scenes now, like this episode is pretty pointless. The whole training the kids is pointless, because all the kids need to be pointless, right? The other children, they are just kind of getting nonsense powers, right? Except of course light power, but the other 3 are getting like random non-real spirit powers. So unless the time spirit power matters, why even have the whole arc, right? Because the whole arc is obviously about this thing. Yeah, setting up the older lady, and the city is probably going to be evil. I think the city is obviously going to be evil later. Or the evil, but like someone's going to do it. I think the human capital is obviously going to be an enemy later. But no matter what that, it's like, it's setting up her to be the hero, right? That's the whole arc's point, right? If it doesn't mean that she's the hero, or at least, something similar to that, like she's Shizu as a kid, or like Remorse, whatever. But if she's not some time shenanigan there, if she isn't that, then the whole arc is pointless, right? And in the early episode, from episode 5 and 6 and so on, if they don't point it either, they're also pointless. The thing is that it's very, very predictable, and if it doesn't answer our predictions, it's gonna be disappointing too, right? I think the anime has really dug itself in a, it's like going into seven corner, right, in that sense. Paint itself in the corner, because now it's like you have done too much stuff that's predicting this thing now, right? Too much pointers to this thing, like a whole arc basically pointing at this thing. And if it doesn't then do that, or something very similar, it's fine. It's like a smiler, it doesn't have to be exactly this prediction I said right now, but it could be, a minor. Oh, she traveled to the future, and then she met Shizu in Japan, or new Shizu, whatever, and then old Shizu turned back again. So the actual mask is also Shizu, and she's traded herself for something, like, and you heard the mask. Like, it could be something else, right? But Chloe wouldn't be involved in the whole time travel with the mask and so on now. That would be completely pointless. She has to be involved in the time travel thing, and she almost has to be the master, right? But she could be, like another, hand in between, right? But she has to be very, very, very important, at least, for the time travel thing. Whereas it's, it's pointless. And I don't like that. It's basically, I don't like it. I mean, I like it in a sense, but I think it's just too obvious now, right? And I don't like that. Like, you see what I mean? Because, again, because it's so predictable now that it's like that, it has to be that almost. Whereas it's gonna be confusing when you get there and it's something completely else, right? It's gonna be like, what? Why did I spend like 11 episodes, watching this thing and this isn't true? Yeah, that's gonna be that feeling, and it's gonna be, even if it's not a plot hole, it's gonna be somewhat, frustrating. It's gonna be like, well, that's a lot of plot consistency. So I don't think it's gonna have that. I think it's gonna be what I say. She's gonna be the hero. I think that's like super predictable, right? It's super obvious. But again, if she isn't, and she's not even concerned with that, right, then we piss off at that instead. So now either it's very predictable, and then we sit here and we basically just wait for it to be revealed what we have predicted. Actually, it must be very, very similar of this character circus, right, which I've been seeing, for the last long time, 20 episodes, right? Yeah. But basically, I don't want to spoil the anime, I've seen it, but that anime had an absurdly predictable outcome. The last episode. Last episode had this big reveal. So straight up last week, but it was extremely predictable, much more than this, but absurdly predictable. And also that it was exactly what the prediction was, right? But at the same time, if that prediction wasn't true there, and actually was something else, right? Then it would be like, wait, then it would be basically a plot hole, because it'd be like, well, there's too much thing pointing to this thing being the truth of the storyline. And if that thing isn't the truth, then it's gonna be like, well, why had this point at it? Yeah, these things are lies then? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, they're all lies, and like 5 episodes at least. Like the whole flashback in that anime would be like, well, wasted, right? Because the flashback points to that. It's like, well, what's the flashback point then? If it's not the truth, right? That's the same with Star Wars 7 and 8. How much of 7 points something, and 8 says, oh, it's all false. That's really bad writing, right? That's even worse than being predictable, because that's like, but why did I watch 7 then? It feels like everything 7 was pointless then, right? Yeah. So like an hour of that movie, you can skip that because it's all lies. It's all just like, doesn't mean anything. So that's just really bad writing. That's one reason why 8 is such a bad movie, right? Everyone hates it. Like, that's a very big reason for it, because... but I feel the same thing here in Slime. I think that Slime is always important to this thing. And if it doesn't, then, answer a prediction, it's gonna be... Yeah, it's pissing off in that standard. So it has to be that Chloe is the hero. That's his conclusion. It's the only logical conclusion from it. And if he's not the hero, she has to be very, 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 important for the whole time travel thing. Being that Shizu could also be the hero. That, I think, is the only 2 options we have, really. And if none of those 2 are filled up, I am gonna be pissed off when it doesn't, right. And I stand by that, because it's just too much evidence now that is the case. And in that case, that isn't, validated eventually. So I'll be like, what? That is stupid then, yeah. Especially as this arc again, I felt purely exists to make Chloe become the hero. That is the only reason I feel it all exists to begin with, right? This whole kids arc. Because all the kids, to me at least, what I see, doesn't matter at all. That's how the anime is presented to be. That's not my fault. I feel the anime is done that thing. And I think that it's a bit of an issue, right? And generally, I probably said it right in the other video as well, but I do definitely think that the anime, unfortunately, maxed out its content, and not content, but like its quality in the Lord, Orc Lord, right? And then these other two arcs have been way weaker. Even though with Melia, but Melia was like for one episode, and that was a great episode. And actually, Melia was kind of in the shadow of the last arc. That wasn't very good. The arc was pretty bad. And then this arc, it's been none of the characters right. This arc has been, in my opinion, kind of the boringest arc, because I want to see Gabru, I want to see Rigurd, I want to see Shion, I want to see all of the characters I learned to love from the first season, right? So I feel the arc has been really weak in that sense, and I felt like it could have been like one episode, right? And also in the sense that if it only was Chloe, and he only trained Chloe, it could have been a much more detailed and episode about her falling in love with him. It could have been more on that, right? And then after then he leaves her and so on. She goes to time traveling, and that would be like one episode, maybe two max. It would be more intense. It would be even more predictable. But the problem I guess I have is that I feel like this is right now. It's like 8 out of 10 predictable. And if it was more focused on her, it would be like 9 out of 10 predictable. Yeah, it's still like even more predictable. But as soon as you cross 5 out of 10, you're going too far anyway. No, it's just too predictable. Like after 5, it's too much information, so it's too much predictable. So I feel they're already past the border of predictability a long time ago, in my opinion. So I feel like going from 8 to a 9 doesn't matter that much. I'd rather have less characters, more focus on the important character, less storyline. This thing back to the village again. That's my opinion about it. But yeah, I think the episode in general was pretty weak in that sense, and also that I did like the recap. So. Mass are negative, but I really stand by it. It's about predictability more than being. It's more about the general narration than being the episode itself. I would say the episode though also had the recap thing. I haven't mentioned it yet. Talking about it in my live reaction, but the recap, in my opinion, was weak. I think it was the weakest part of the episode because it didn't fit right. We kind of have it after you kind of resolve the spirits enslavement thing. Then we see the true evil guy appearing over him last here, and it didn't really fit. I felt. Like it could have been later after the epilogue instead. So that it didn't really feel like it actually felt like it fit that moment. And the actual recap itself was pointless because I don't think it felt very emotional. I compared it with Pictures for Viewers in my live reaction, which I think is a much better recap, right? Because they recap something when it's like, this is really sad. It's been a lot of character development. It's very emotional. Here's a punch in the gut recap. You're like, oh man, I want to cry more, right? Very good recap. That anime can work a recap on. Here it's like this anime is much more wholesome. Rimaru always wins. It doesn't feel like when I see the recap with the anime, I'm just like, yeah, okay, he won. I never felt he ever struggled. I never felt there was that kind of development. I don't think Rimaru has had many character development for that matter, but I don't really mind that because anime isn't really about that. See what I mean? The anime isn't about him, struggling from level 1. He started level 1000, right? It's not that kind of anime. But that's also where the recap is kind of pointless because each scene is him just like, yeah, I won. Yeah, it's kind of that. So it doesn't really feel that the recap is really emotional, really like shows you the journey because he just kind of crushed everything, right? There was also support there, and I felt that generally it was like not that strong or as fitting for that matter. Right? It didn't fit in my opinion for a second. Like it gives them the spirit, you see the future spirit. Oh, that's the hero. That is like here. Let's recap the whole Gabru fighting Gobsta. That was funny, but it's like that didn't fit at all to what you saw, right? And then we also have the true evil guy, which I guess probably isn't even novel at that time. You just kind of put there to be like, go and buy the manga or novel, guys. If you see that guy doing that thing, right? And I felt that seeing him, I felt it was cheap, honestly. I'm being tough, but I think that was cheap because my guess is that he is not revealed at the vision novel or the manga at that point. That was like, okay, the anime is ending. Let's throw in this guy that's, the true mastermind. Let's reveal him right now. Let's spoil him for the anime viewers earlier. So they want to be, oh, who is this guy? Let's go and buy the manga and anime. Yeah, let's go and buy the other stuff. That guy at that moment felt completely not fitting for what's happening either. And I was purely like, ooh, you want to buy more stuff? You want to see more stuff? Yeah, it felt very much like that. I don't think it was like very bad, but it felt extremely obvious that it was like, let's, buy. Which I could understand from a capitalistic standpoint, but I felt like his scene, no, I stand by this. I think his scene should have been last, in my opinion. His scene should be last. Instead of having, we have the epilogue, we have them, Rimaru is running home, right? And then we see him like, And also the recap should have been last too. I think the recap should be last, and then him should be last. That, in my opinion, would be a better episode. But they wanted probably to throw me in the middle to be like, well, before you turn the channel because it's like a boring recap now, let's show you this guy. Yeah, let's show you before you lose interest. And that felt like that is very forced, right? I don't think it was very good for the actual transition of the scenes. Like that felt forced. Recap felt forced. I think it could be done better. Leaving the children, then going home. You skip the recap. God, you get it home instead and get out of the again. Something like that. Anyway, hope that's a review. I might do a longer review where I talk about the whole anime, but I think the general sense I have to say is that I am a little disappointed, right? I really liked the anime in the beginning. I had it in my top 10 last year, and I was like, man, the anime is getting better and better. It's going to be awesome probably last year, and it was good in the beginning, but I felt after the Orc Lord and like melee introduction, then I felt that the anime definitely dipped it down a bit. I think it's very, very obvious. I think I read post here. Everyone seems to agree with me, generally, honestly, right, that the anime is still good, but it definitely went down at least 1 point there in from the latest two arcs, right? They've been way weaker, and I do feel that there's a little interest in it in that sense as well, though. And then this episode feels very forced. That's probably why I'm honestly too, because I feel like the anime is going down, right? And now it ends with, in my opinion, a very forced episode. Anyway, hope that's review still, though. I expect someone to hate the review because they're like, it's a slime, he's not against slime anymore. But again, I think slime is good, but I have to say, I do feel disappointed. Given that I was like, man, this is one of the best anime last year. I had it over some other animes, people were probably questioning my sanity, right? And last year I felt that way, and I was thinking it's going to be even better this year, but I think it's been reversed. I think it's been clearly worse this year. I think the anime has gone down this year, like severely down. So that is very disappointing, right? Makes my top 10 list from last year and be a little bit like, maybe I should have picked them. Yeah, in the end. And I said it too when I was doing the top 10, I was like, it's a little weird picking anime that isn't finished yet, that is even doing a next season right away. But I really love slime, so let's do it. I believe in you. And no, in afterhand, in hindsight now, I was wrong, I feel. Honestly, I feel like I shouldn't put it in top 10. Probably, given this season, right? I feel like this is not a top 10 anime this year at least. So, yeah, you know what it is. Hope to see you later. See you guys tomorrow with Black Clover. It's me first thing tomorrow.